Conversations about love and relationships are definitely evolving on the African continent. And today we're looking at one of these relationship styles that are sort of people are speaking a little bit more about. It's not a new thing at all, but I think people are getting more open minded to discover, to understand these different relationship types. Polyamory is what we're discussing today. Kerline Astre, a pleasure and wellness practitioner, continues to join us in this conversation. Kerline, let's speak about what makes a relationship polyamorous. And one of the things that make it polyamorous is the consent of all the people in this relationship style saying, yes, I want to be in a polyamorous relationship. How does this work? And is everyone truly consenting when we see a polyamorous relationship style?
Yeah, you would assume the assumption would be yes, everyone is consenting. You can't be in a relationship with someone that's not in a relationship with you, right? And so now you talk about what type of relationship, and you're being honest with yourself, about what type of relationship best suits who you are now, because we are ever evolving. And so that's why the communication aspect of the relationship is very important. And the honesty is the bedrock. It's not as a checklist, but as a living practice, where there's no single blueprint, and partners must create agreements that honor each other's boundaries, their comfort levels, their needs. The most successful polyamorous relationships are less about perfection and more about repair, being able to return to truth and after moments of discomfort or disconnection. So yeah, everyone present theoretically has consented to being in the dynamic, and also that consent means that there's levels of responsibility that we're saying yes to, right? And this is where it gets kind of crazy, because ethical polyamory is has been problematic. It's just like I've had friends and clients where they're in a polyamorous relationship and they're cheating on each other. I'm like, how? Like,
What is
I'm
the
like,
point?
what's and then what's happening?
Yeah, we're trying to
Like,
make the circle bigger, man. The circle needs to be made bigger.
yeah,
Let's talk a
like,
little bit about that. I mean, the responsibilities, right? And you spoke about that term, the ethical implications. What would you say are the driving ethical considerations here if you want to, delve into this type of relationship?
well, polyamory forces us to think again about commitment, not as permanence, but as something that's present within you. So relationships evolve without being failures. Intimacy can shift, and love transforms. You know what I mean? The real challenge is in staying transparent through those shifts. That's the thing. So transitions become part of the relationship's rhythm. It's literally how we dance together. I will show up truthfully as long as this serves our growth. And so that is the ethical. It becomes the ethical dilemma, is because the friendship aspect in those three tiers has not been really developed. Because if you develop that, there's things I will tell my friend that I probably won't tell my partner. Not
Hmm.
probably, I don't. Because they're different relationships,
Yeah.
right? So when it's asking you these tiered things, then you pull attributes from all three of those areas: the friendship, the romantic part, and then the business part, and that helps to inform how you move in the relationship. So
Hmm.
it's when things like that happen, the cheating and the disconnect, it just shows that we're not talking enough, and if we are, we're not saying what we really want to say.
Mm. And I'm glad you're bringing in these two aspects, right? The aspect of honesty and the aspect of communication. And if we see many of the relationships that we have come across, many people do lack those two aspects, the aspects of honesty and open communication. In polyamory with more than one partner that plays a role in the relationship, how important or how challenging is it to keep this, there? Because we are still human at the end of the day, but wanting to be in this relationship style requires you to push yourself a little bit further in these aspects of communication and honesty.
Yeah, I mean, in polyamorous context, communication has to move beyond reassurance and into a co-creation. You're not, just managing one emotional landscape, but several that intersect. This means you having to cultivate emotional literacy, and being able to name feelings without accusation. Ask for what you need, and practice active consent because you never know. I had one client, her and her husband had been together, I guess almost 20 years, and she was having an affair with some other guy, and but her husband was a chronic cheater, right? So this is that her affair had just recently started, and they were in the middle of a divorce. And what she said to me, she's like, you know what, Kerline, what's interesting is that if he would have just talked to me, if he would have just told me like what was happening with him, like, why, what's the attraction to the other women, and like if we just would have had a conversation, I might have been open, and so that, so this is could have been potentially a 20-year marriage that ended up in divorce that could have been salvaged had the other party just said, look, babe,
Mm.
I'm this ish,
Ish
like,
man, ish man, baby
hey,
man.
hey,
Let's
yeah,
let's talk about something that you say isn't necessarily an emphasis, but there are those who
yeah.
actually might want this to be taking center stage of their own polyamorous relationship. Maybe the emphasis in a certain relationship be sexual, right? And say, you know what, I want to do this for sexual reasons. There are those who do it for that. I mean, what are the sexual health conversations to have there? Because I think that's also an important conversation to have.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going, and it's not just from a physical standpoint too, and in my practice, I talk about, something called STEs, which is sexually transmitted energy, right?
Hmm.
And also how people can access and apply, what I call energetic condoms, or or things like that, so you can keep your hygiene around sex and sexuality up. Because the thing is, yeah, you can have sex with all kinds of people from a physical standpoint, but that's not, the residue that's left behind is what is deposited in you on an energetic level,
Hmm. Sure.
after that relationship.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And also the physical. Could you elaborate on that? The physical
Yeah, I
health.
mean, yeah, I mean, you have to, again, you have to have the specific types of agreements. Like, I know you can be with somebody, but no penetration, or no body fluid exchanges, or you can talk about whatever your boundaries are. If there are no physical boundaries, you can just say, babe, just be safe. Hey, you know what I mean? Just be safe, and then and if things begin to escalate beyond the physical sex space, please let me know so we can have a different conversation, right? And it could, you get to say no more than two a year. No, I mean,
Mm.
like, whatever it is, the agreement can be broad, it can be narrow, and the two of us or more than two of us that are in it get to define how that is and what feels good for us in this process.
Well, that's all we have time for, Colleen. I think we could have gone on for so much longer because I think a lot of people are quite inquisitive about these different relationship styles, but also it's so important to break those stereotypes on how these relationship styles actually work and what they need to actually be made to work. So thank you so much. Where can we find out more about you and your practice, Colleen?
You can go to my website, www.sacredbodyjourney.com. And I'm also on IG, not heavy. I'm going to get better. But
Okay.
my website is the best place to reach me and, talk and set up appointments and things like that.
Well, thank you so much. That is Kerline Astre, who is the Pleasure and Wellness Practitioner, speaking to us about polyamory today. Really interesting stuff. It's